If you can imagine something executives hate worse than giving budgetary updates, giving the stats at a meeting, running staff meetings, or even public presentations, this is going to top the list. But you have to be able to do this well if you are going to continue to maintain and even excel at your executive role. So, ready for your stomach to hurt? Let's get into it.
Welcome to the Sam Linton Show, the podcast designed to help you shift your mindset, find your voice, and change your world. Sam is a pastor, coach, and expert communicator, helping leaders and entrepreneurs like you step into their purpose, speak with confidence, and make a lasting difference. So let's dive in.
Okay, today I'm going to paint a picture that is going to immediately make you want to reach into your desk and grab your Tums. If you don't have Tums in your desk, you are either A, really, really good at managing stress, or B, you are not over 40. All right, so that's what you need. I think every person, once they reach a certain age, Tums just comes in your desk. So anyway, picture this. You get called in for a meeting, and it's a one-on-one meeting. You were not expecting to have this meeting. The meeting involves you having no idea whatsoever about what it is that you're going to be talking about. You're nervous. You feel a little bit out of sorts, maybe even a little bit confused about what's happening, and you sit across from your boss. Your boss proceeds to ask you some lighthearted questions. You know, what are you and your spouse planning? How are the kids? You know, what's going on with your health? Like, are you doing a lot of Pilates? Are you doing a lot of, and they just start small talk. Then, in the middle of it, they shift gears and go, okay, I want to talk to you about what's been happening with your role and how you have been misfiring. And you just spent 30 minutes feeling like, okay, maybe this isn't so bad. And then you get into the juxtaposed part of the meeting, which is the opposite of, okay, this is why we're really here. I suck at my job. Or I botched that whatever, that proposal, that meeting, whatever it is. And the leader is now giving you feedback. They're telling you what you did wrong. They're telling you what you should have did. And it feels about as good as I'm describing. So if that sounds like a nightmare, it's because it is. Now, here's what you don't know. And if you've been in an executive role, you're going to agree with this. But if you haven't been in an executive role and it's something that you are aspiring to, I want you to realize that on the other side of that desk, most of the time, and I say this cautiously, because I know there's always that outlier of people that are in a different group. But I'm going to say the majority of the time, the executive is dreading that conversation way more than you do. I mean, way more than you do. They've overthought it. They've pigeoned it. My analogies are not good today. They've canaried it to some other people that they're close to, maybe their spouse. Okay, I'm going to be talking to Megan tomorrow from accounting about these mess ups, and what would you think if I said this, or how would you feel if I said this? Maybe they're working with somebody else in the executive team on how to shape it. They might be asking ChatGPT to help them figure out how to talk to you, which is not a bad idea. But they have been more dreadful of this experience than you have. You're broadsided, sure. It sucks for you, sure. But most executives, bottom line, hate having to deliver feedback. So I'm going to share with you from a communication standpoint. And again, I don't know your job. I don't know what you're responsible for. I know that you have people that you're working with and maybe that you're managing. You have to deal with those people and give them feedback. But I want to give you a framework that will help you to deliver feedback in a way that actually doesn't feel like getting punched in the stomach by the Incredible Hulk. So this feedback is I call it the quad C feedback formula, the quad C feedback formula. And this is important. But before we get into the quad C feedback formula, I want to also give you a little bit of background as to why people hate feedback. Number one, leaders often confuse feedback with evaluation. So what do I mean by that? I mean they take feedback time and they use this as a time to evaluate the employees, the team members' character or their job performance to date. And they kind of talk about, well, in 2014, you were doing really, really well. 2017, you really dropped the ball. 2020, that's a performance review. That is not feedback. So what happens is we try to cram barrels of information into a shot glass time frame. Feedback is not that way. And that's why it fails a lot, because you're going to come from that meeting. You're going to leave that meeting if you're the employee or the team member that is in the lesser role, and you're going to feel like my boss hates me and I suck at my job. And despite what you think, this is one thing I've learned with working with professionals, thousands of professionals in every role, thousands of people I've dealt with in the church, and of course, hundreds and hundreds of people I've dealt with over my time with Dale Carnegie and still at my time with Dale Carnegie, is that nobody wants to do a bad job. Like nobody. Now, people will think they're doing a good job and not, but nobody wants to. Nobody is setting out to, I'm going to bomb this day. Woo, it's going to be so much fun when I get to let everybody on my team down, especially my executive supervisor. I want them to think I suck. Like if they feel that I'm doing badly, oh my goodness. Bucket list. Like I'm killing. This is great. Nobody feels that way. So you have to be aware as the executive that they're not doing this because they hate you. They either have an attitude problem that needs correcting or they don't know what they're doing. They don't know what they're doing. So secondly, why this fails is oftentimes when executives are in this mode, they give threatening feedback. Since they're going to go all for it. So they become more combative. They become very pointed on the words that they're using without considering any kind of empathy. So they're doing it like, okay, well, I hate this, so let's hate it together. And it becomes threatening. And then the employee feels threatened. Now we have a confrontation instead of feedback. And then the other reasons why we hate it is because usually we avoid it. And it was Alex Hormozy, and I listen to a lot of his stuff. He says the thing that we're avoiding in business is what's controlling our business. The thing that we're avoiding in business is what's controlling our business. So if we avoid tax analysis and our books are a mess, and in the back of our mind we're like, oh, December's coming and then April's coming and then like that's all we're going to think about. That's controlling how you're doing business because you're avoiding it. And avoidance is actually worse because it's adding layers of time and dread to this thing that could be over in sometimes 5 to 20 minutes. So the other thing that why it fails, and this is the last thing I'll do before I give you the 4 C's, the quad C feedback method, copyright Linton Storytelling Group 2025, quad C feedback method, is that leaders will often view feedback as something that they're doing, which is a correction instead of investment. So leaders hate it because they go, I am correcting. Like when you were a kid, you got like one of the worst moments of my life. And I had like a rough childhood, had some addiction issues with parents. I don't want to get into it. I was alone a lot. One of the worst moments of my life is when I was given a pack of those new, do you remember the good crayons? Like I didn't have good crayons at home. These were I don't even know if they have these now. I'm going to go ask my kids if they have these. I'm really, now I'm on a side quest, but okay. The crayons, they came in a box, like a small box. Like it was like maybe twice the size of a card, deck of playing cards. And they were really thick crayons. They were thick. They weren't the kind that looked like a pen or pencil. They were like the thick kind. They were like double that width. And they only had like the primary colors in there. And they came in their own box. And it was its own cardboard box that wasn't like a flimsy box. It had a lid that you took the lid off. And on the first day of grade 1, my teacher, I don't know that she's alive. Again, I told you I'm over 40, so there's a chance she's not alive. But in the off chance she is, her name was Mrs. Bohanko. And Mrs. Bohanko gave us this pack of crayons, and it was glorious. I opened them and angels sang, like the angels were over these crayons. So I remember that she said, you're getting special crayons. These are just for you. They're for the whole year. You have to take care of them. I'm like, yes, I will. Well, all the bad kids within the first couple weeks, like I was so paranoid about these crayons, I barely used them. I used them at the very bitter end of a masterpiece drawing stick figure. I would just use them to put like their eyes on the stick figure. Like that was how serious I was. Okay, so as Mrs. Bohanko would instruct every single day, hey, be careful with your crayons. There'd be kids that would throw their crayons if they get mad, kids that had temper tantrums, and they'd break their crayons, and they would get in trouble, like really, really bad trouble. And they would get yelled at in front of the room. This is a day and age when you used to actually get yelled at in front of the room and corrected. It's crazy. You got to read about it, Google it, it happened. I pulled the crayon out. It was a blue one. I remember this, PTSD. And I was just dotting the eyes of my stick figure. I haven't really progressed much artwork-wise since I was in the first grade. And I was holding the crayon a little too tightly, and it snapped in my hand. But it didn't break the paper. It just, the underneath snapped. And, I mean, obviously the next thing that was going to happen was Mrs. Bohanko was going to snap my first grader spine. That was what's going to happen. I mean, it had to be. Had to be. In my brain, this was the biggest problem I'd ever faced in my life. And for weeks, I nursed that crayon like it was the Holy Grail. I did. I was just very cautious to take it out. Well, one of my classmates, a bully, he noticed that I was always checking to see how broken it was underneath. Well, one day, he got in trouble because he only had one of his good crayons left. He had thrown them all away. And he got in trouble really bad with his last good crayon because I think he was like trying to chew on it. I think there was a little bit of a Neanderthal thing going on. I'm not sure what was going on at home with him. That's not my tea to spill. But this is what ended up happening. He pointed over at me with the hand that wasn't destroying his last good crayon and said, well, Sam Linton's been hiding that his has been broke for weeks. I was going to die. This is it. Is this what they're going to put on my tombstone? They're not going to write it in blue crayon. They can't because my blue crayon is destroyed, obviously. And the teacher went, what? Just like that. I remember she went, what? Because my crayons were all still intact weeks after because I was really taking care of them. And I went, nuh-uh, and I held my crayon up like with a fist, like I was holding it. I'm like, look, as if like that was the thing. And she ended up not correcting me. And I thought I had just gotten away with murder. All that to say, it was a silly illustration, but you know what? It was funny, and it was me reliving part of my childhood. All that to say, that's how we think of feedback. We think of it as getting in trouble with the teacher. And as an executive leader, as somebody that's in an executive role, and I've been in an executive role for 2 decades, you feel like the teacher. You feel that. You're like, I don't want to correct that. I don't want to be their teacher. I don't want to be their mother. Like, I'm not here for this. And you feel like crap doing it. So the Quad C feedback method is for you. All right? So here it is. Feedback is not correction. It's investment. Keep that in mind. So don't think of it as the teacher. You're investing in them. So if you want a good employee, you have to invest in them. And sometimes that investment is going to cost you something and it's going to cost them something. But in the end, it's going to lead to a better employee. My boss just gave me feedback a couple weeks ago. And I took it and it bothered me, but it's making me better as a person. It's making me better as a leader. I've gotten feedback from the people on the Dale Carnegie team. Dale Carnegie is a feedback-rich environment. We'll talk about ways to not do feedback at the end, but let's get into the Quad C. I built it up enough. All right, Quad C. Number one, clarity. Please, oh please, oh please, save yourself the trouble of not destroying your employee's life. And the way you do that is with clarity. That's feedback number one. So one of the things that you have to do is you have to be crystal clear. And I mean uber specific, like targeted missile to an inch specific of where you're going to give that feedback. I will give you an example. If you sit an employee down and you tell them, and by the way, just as an aside, when you're giving feedback, I recommend not doing the pleasantries of the feedback sandwich, compliment sandwich. It doesn't work. Especially now, because people know about the feedback. So you know what that is. You put a nice piece of bread, like, oh, you've been really, really good dressing well lately. Like your shirt and colors all match. Like it seems like you're really good with your family and blah, 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 blah. And then you put the poo in the middle. Like, hey, you suck at your job. Like you're the worst employee we've ever had. And then at the bottom, you're like, but your shoes are always well shined. You do such a good job with that. Like, don't do that. If you're going to have a feedback conversation, sit them down and go, I want to talk to you about what happened with blank, and just get right into it. Don't do this thing like, oh, I just brought you in because we're friendly. Tell them what you're there to tell them. Don't do that. Okay, this is just my personal preference. Your results may vary, but I'd rather just get down and say, hey, we're going to talk to you about this issue. All right, so the clarity part, though, that's the first thing. So you don't want to sit somebody down and go, hey, John, I want you to let you know you're really bad with clients. You're just awful with clients. You're not doing well with clients. That is the kiss of death, because John is going to think of his best client, St. Anne's Church, and he's had them for 30 years. No, and St. Anne says, I'm not back. Blah, blah, blah. No, you have to go, hey, John, yesterday's call with ABC Printing, I noticed that towards the end of the call, you said, look, I just need you to make the decision and get this number over to me immediately. I don't have time for this. Okay, right there, you have done something that most executives don't do. You have gotten specific. So your clarity is what gives you the evidence that merits the feedback. Now, this could go a different way, and John could be like, yeah, I don't have time for this, blah, 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 blah. Well, then you have the opportunity to correct his attitude. Like, of course, you're not telling one of your biggest clients, I don't have time for your not paying the invoice on time. No. Instead, you're guiding them as a salesperson. This is how you ask for money. This is how you approach whatever. I know, and I'm making these scenarios up. I don't know what your role is, but I'm sure you have a role like this. We have to give feedback on how they speak to people. So you want to be as specific. Yesterday, I mean, if you have the times, like towards the end of the call, I noticed that with ABC Printing, with Megan from ABC Printing, you told her, I don't have time to be waiting for your thing. Get your invoice paid right away, and say, just tell them, I noticed that you said this. Okay, and just tell them what it is that you noticed. And don't say, and by the way, I've been noticing for the last 20 years you've been doing. No, you have to keep it specific to an incident. You don't want to take, and so many leaders do this. The problem with feedback is a lot of times we try to cram 20 years of bad performance review into one Friday 3 p.m. meeting. That's a smooch of death. They're going to think you're the worst boss ever, that you hate their guts. Instead, you want to be more situational. Okay? You want to tell them that this is what happened that you've observed in that particular setting. All right? So clarity. Specific is terrific. You can't go wrong. When I would work with Dale Carnegie trainers, when I would speak to them about specific things, I would say, hey, in section 4B, during the summary, I noticed blank. All right, now, that's what you want to do. Okay, so next, the next C is context. Context. What does that mean? That means, what does this have to do with the teams, the individuals, or the company's overall goals? So, I noticed yesterday in that client call, Megan, or whoever Steven, you said to Megan that she got to get the invoice to you. You don't have time for this. Now, this matters because our company's mission statement is that we are client-centric. Now, again, I'm just painting ABC company a picture, but that our number one thing is the needs of the client. And when you say things like, I don't have time for this, what we're saying is our time is more valuable than Megan's time, which we know that's not true. And, you kind of let them know. The context is this is hurting our brand. And if you could get it to their goals, and your goal as a care leader, as a team leader, is you're trying to want that client to be satisfied, right? Like you want them to agree with you on their goals. Now, this is why it's important. This is where vision comes in handy, not just on painting that picture, but vision is also a course of measurement for correction. Hey, our goal is to get more and more sales calls to be successful. And, if we're making our team, or if we're making our clients feel like they are not doing well by not paying the invoices, even though this is our highest paying client, well, we're not really being client-centric, right? So you want that context to be clear. Like, why are you having this conversation? Because why do you want to do this? They might not know. They genuinely might not know. They might be so in their head about their jobs, they don't know, and you have to tell them why it matters. So that context is really, really vital. It has to be important. And if they don't have the context, then your coaching is going to be like, oh, you just picked on them. Oh, yeah, I know. It's the team values, blah, 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 blah. All right. So that's, or, you can refer to some previous document. You could talk about the mission statement. You could talk about the contract they signed. You could talk about the way that the behaviors of the company, you have these things. If you're an executive, you have these things in a file. Use them. Your company spent thousands of dollars to develop these things. If you're a sole proprietor and a business owner, you have the right to create a list of guiding principles for your organization that you can give to employees. And then those guiding principles are correctable and coachable moments. All right. So context. I know I'm spending less time on the rest because I elaborated a lot on the first couple. All right. So clarity first, context next. Third, you have to bring the care in. Now, this is where usually when we reach this point of giving feedback, we don't care. We're just like, we scorched earth this thing. Like, you got to quit sucking on these sales calls, Jonathan. Like, I can't stand it. But instead, you want to bring it back to, I'm only sharing this because I know you want to know how you are in these moments, and I know you want to excel. I know you want to go for the Salesman of the Month award. I know you're trying to meet your goals. I know you're trying to expand your business territory, whatever it is. This is also a good time, and this is a Dale Carnegie principle. One of the principles is that you talk in terms of your mistakes, before correcting others. This will be a time to go, look, when I first started, I was really impatient too. I wanted those invoices paid too because I didn't get credit on my balance sheet until they actually paid. I mean, we just have an idea of a deal until the deal is actually finalized. So tell them with empathy why you care about them. I know you don't want people thinking that you're in a hurry and don't care about them because I know you do care about them. You give them, again, another Dale Carnegie principle, a fine reputation to live up to. But you can't go wrong with this. You can't. And caring, I mean, heck, if you're giving that feedback right there alone, you're showing that you care. If you didn't care, you wouldn't be doing the feed. Just let them crash and burn until they finally botch a client call so bad that you have to fire them, right? So the caring is in that, it's baked into that feedback to begin with. But you want to show them why you care about delivering it to them, why you care for them, what you see in them for them. Okay? You with me? All right, last one. And this is a huge underutilized thing of leadership. 4, co-create. Co-create the solution. People will contribute to a vision that they help create. So if you allow them to co-create the fix with you, you are 50% of the way there of getting the problem solved. So how this might look. So John, how would you change talking to Megan? What might be another way that you might approach Megan being late with her invoices? Or what might be another way that you approach this subject? What might be another solution? How do you feel about changing? Like, you want some open-ended questions. You want a dialogue. So that way they are once again having agency and volition. They're not just coming there being told that they did bad by the boss. Instead, you're giving them the opportunity to see that they are actually a part of this process, because they are. You can talk to them until you're blue in the face, but if they are not subscribed to your line of thinking, they're going to shake their heads up and down, leave the office, and pretend that conversation didn't happen. They're going to trash talk you to the other employees. They're going to go home and badmouth you to their spouse. And then tomorrow they're going to hit the 9 to 5 grind as if that conversation didn't happen. But if you ask them to help you, how can I help you to get better about this? What might be missing from your resources as to why you're not hitting your deadlines? And a lot of times they'll say, nothing, it's just me. Well, give me something I can do to help you. Oh, nothing. You want them to take part in that vision. You want them to take part in that process, that you can bring them to a productive solution that they can participate in. All right? Because if you don't, then you are not coaching them. You are just yelling at them, and they're going to be the first grader with the broken crayon holding it tightly, hoping that you don't notice, but in reality, you notice. You're noticing. It's not getting better. You're just getting more irritated. You're not really able to do anything else because you're like, I already talked to them once, and it was already awkward for 3 months, and now they're just doing the same crap and blah, 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 blah. So, clarity, 1. Context, 2. Care, trace, co-create, 4. That's the Quad C feedback model. Now, let's give you some important things. Number 1, timing is everything. Timing is everything. So, one of the things that you have to do is you have to make sure that it is as close to the offense as you can get it. If you bring me in about a conversation that you and I had in 2007, I am going to lose all respect for you. You've been holding on to this thing for 18 years. Are you kidding me? But if you say, hey, I noticed on Wednesday you did. So feedback is strongest when it's closest to the time of offense because it's fresh. It can be referred to. There's very little doubt about dispute. Yeah, I did say that to Megan about the invoice. So timing is really huge when it comes to, and most executives, they do the opposite. They let it build and build and build and build and build. And then in December with the performance review, they're like, okay, January, you sucked at this. February, you were awful at this. March, oh my gosh, why are you even here, right? So you want to try the feedback as close to the time of offense as you can get. Next, you want to be very, very careful to do this privately and not publicly. That should go without saying. I have seen people speak to their teams in front of other people, and I die inside. Heaven help me if I ever do that to one of the members of my staff. That's so demoralizing. It's embarrassing, and there's no way you're going to get them on their side. When you publicly embarrass them, shame them, talk badly about them, don't do it. Don't do it. Do it privately. Hey, I just want to catch up with you about this. I saw what happened in that meeting there. Don't be that boss that eviscerates. I was watching Guilty Pleasure. I was watching a Netflix documentary. It was like Trainwreck American Apparel. It was this guy. I don't even like fashion or anything, but it just was 58 minutes long, and it looked interesting to me. And it was, I think his name was Dev or Dove, whoever the CEO of the American Apparel company was. He was known for having team meetings, and what he would do in the team meetings is literally he would eviscerate the worst performing employee. There'd be like 150 people on the call or whatever, and he would just crap all over that person. I can imagine how that person felt. I mean, obviously it didn't go well because they made a documentary about him. And it also makes him a bad executive because he was having sex with most of the people on the team. So that's also a no-no. That's beyond the scope of communication. Don't have sex with people on your team. It's probably, unless you're married to them, in which case, again, still not my role, but it didn't work out for the American Apparel guy. All right, bottom line. Okay, so coming back, make sure that you do it in a positive, kind, and private way. And then finally, and this is really, really a communication thing, don't make your tone intense. Don't make your tone too apologetic. You want your tone to be neutral. I'm so sorry, John, but you suck at that thing you did yesterday. Oh my gosh, don't do that. Don't be apologetic. Like, you're trying to help them. Like, they're going to level. They're going to love that you're leveling with them in the long run, but it hurts. It's not easy. There's not a good part of this, but it helps you. This isn't an event. It's a habit, really. And if you do it frequently enough, it's like disciplining your kids. If you put your kids in timeout regularly when they mess up, or however you choose to discipline them, if you do it regularly, they know, okay, this is what I get, I know. But if you do it one time every other year, they're going to think you're the most abusive parent on the planet. It's that consistency. So if you want more help like this communicating with your team and being a great executive leader, I am your person. I do executive coaching. I help people learn how to shape their executive communication. This is out of the realm of speaking, public speaking, but this is some of the most important public speaking you'll ever do, is when you give feedback and have to have these negative conversations. It's not popular, but you got to do it. I'm helpful to you. If you need somebody, I can help you shape this. So go to podcast@samuellinton.com. Send me an email there. It's an email address, podcast@samuellinton.com. And I will definitely love to work with you. I'll let you know what I have open for the fall. My schedule is getting crazier as we go, but I would love to help you. So with that said, Quad C formula for feedback. Don't forget to think about what your employees are thinking about. And thank you for tuning into the Sam Linton Show. Let's shift our mindset, find our voice, and change our world. We'll see you soon. Thanks.